Hello there, my name is Lady Bitterness. This is my first attempt at recording a weekly forecast, so let's just jump into it. I want to start these things off by going over the general expectation we can have for the week ahead. So let's start off with September 20th to September 26th, 2021. So some major events happening this week are, we are going to be entering Libra season, which I'll expand upon in a minute. We will start the week off with a full moon in Pisces, and we will be gearing up for a Mercury retrograde that's going to be coming next week. I think this week is probably going to be a little tiring. There's probably going to be several energetic shifts that can wipe some of us out. So know going into this week that we may need to schedule in some downtime to reflect on these changing tides. But let's talk a little bit about what's going into Libra season is like. This is going to happen on Wednesday, the 22nd. In the US, Libra brings in the fall season. So Libra is a cardinal sign, so it initiates the new season and sets us on a fresh 3-month cycle. With only 4 cardinal signs out of all the 12 zodiac signs, Libra is the one and only cardinal air sign. So this means that Libra is motivated to even out the energy of our year, air being more of a mental, analytical element. What did we start in Aries season and how has it gone so far? Aries season would have been the end of March and most of April of 2021. So the Libran energy, it considers what we are lacking and what we are overcommitted to. Ideally, Libra season will allow us to even out our lifestyles by adding and subtracting things from our schedule to make a more balanced load. It comes right off the tails of Virgo season, the last month of summer. Virgo season was where we were trying to get things organized and preparing for the next couple of fall and winter months that are ahead of us. However, before we even get to Libra season, on Monday, we start off with a full moon in Pisces to end our Virgo season this year. I wrote a whole article on this on ladybittersastrology.com, so feel free to check out the article on the full moon in Pisces. But yeah, we're going to come to terms with what circumstances we are not currently capable of controlling and how we can move forward with healthier coping mechanisms. Neptune retrograde is actually going to be strongly involved in this full moon, so we're going to be confronted with needing an escape and something to hope for, but our realities are going to be a little bit harsher than we want them to be right now. So it's important to cultivate an inner sense of peace and imagination, because what's going on outside of ourselves can feel bleak, especially if we judge ourselves too harshly for our inability to control the situation. Okay, moving on. This whole week we are going to be feeling the effects of Venus opposite Uranus and Mercury squaring Pluto. Buckle your seatbelts is all I have to say. But let's start off with Mercury. This is the planet of mental processing and communication. In Libra, we want to have a more rational mentality, not allowing ourselves to get overwhelmed by any outside stimulus or information coming in. We want to weigh our options and make sound decisions using the process of elimination. This is being challenged by Pluto, the planet of fear and awareness of extremes. With Pluto being in Capricorn, this is as gritty as it can get. Capricorn is harsh and extremely realistic. It is the first sign of winter, so it is accustomed to less resources and more strategy needed. Pluto in this sign exposes us to varying levels of success, failure, access, and scarcity. So, this week we will be confronting some serious topics, whether in our own personal lives or just in the news. We will come across distressing information that makes it difficult to stay cool, calm, and rational, the way that Mercury and Libra would prefer it. And yet, we need to try to stay mentally in control and not allow our fears or our anger to overcome our ability to think through a situation and find the most useful option. With Mercury going retrograde next week, its energy is starting to slow down, and we will be dealing with this vibe for several weeks to come. So be prepared with a strong mind and a willingness to accept difficult truths without convincing yourself that it will always be this challenging. It won't be, but for now we do have to grit it out. We can expect to feel this the strongest, probably Monday through Wednesday of this week. I will mention that throughout all of this, we are receiving a trine from Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter is the planet of growth through gaining life experiences. At the very least, Jupiter holds on tightly to the concept of having a future where all the wisdom we are learning now can be applied one day. So keep in mind that this is all a learning experience, and in the end, it'll be teaching us a lot about life. The final major energy of this week will be Venus and Scorpio, opposing Uranus and Taurus. We will feel the effects of this the strongest, probably Tuesday through Thursday. Friday will also be significant as the moon will be conjoining with Uranus. Let's talk about Venus. This is the planet of appreciation and preference. It rules over what we are attracted to and what we are repulsed by. With Venus being in Scorpio, we find the most pleasure in experiences that take up a lot of our energy. We want to feel fully immersed and involved in our experience with this energy. Anything mediocre or bland will make us feel dissatisfied. Venus in Scorpio wants that intense engagement with life. So this will be crossing paths with Uranus, the planet of disruption, rebellion, and autonomy. In Taurus, we are dealing with earthly, physical pleasures and valuables, our sense of personal stability. So I see this as a chance to experiment with different activities, relationships, and experiences that we have not tried before, or that we have been kind of tiptoeing around wanting to experiment with. This energy is exciting because it gives us a chance to claim for ourselves what is desirable versus what is unpleasant. Uranus usually has no regard for tradition, established standards, or rules, just like in general. So this is a great opportunity to stretch ourselves and try things out. On the downside, we can experience some distressing changes in our social life. Maybe we're not really feeling ready for these shifts, but they're going to come anyway, which can disturb our peace and our natural rhythm. So, we'll see how it plays out. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some smaller events happening throughout the week, which include a grand air trine that's going to be between the planets Saturn, Mars, and the North Node. So grand trines create a feeling of alignment and trust in what is happening. So with the air element involved, we can have more confidence in knowing what to do next. We can know what we think about a situation and feel okay with our perspective. We can not be questioning ourselves so much. So all of this is going to be really helpful considering that Mercury-Pluto square that we talked about. With Mars and Saturn involved in this, we can feel like we have a bit more control over our actions, which is Mars, and we can act according to our circumstance in a more mature, regulated way, well-managed way. We can have more control over our anger, irritation, and we can make decisions that move us forward without causing too much tension. Saturn's going to help us be more equipped to take our time and be patient with the results and the outcome. With the North Node present, we can feel an increased pull towards a specific direction. So projects can feel like they're falling into place for a reason, and we can make sense of some of what we have been preoccupied with lately. We're going to feel this grand air trine probably the most strongly on Sunday. So maybe wait to make an important decision or have a significant conversation until then. And lastly, I just want to mention that this week is going to be a waning week in the lunar cycle. So it's right after the full moon. So we're beginning to kind of go into the downward spike of the lunar cycle and entering into the new one coming in a couple of weeks. So we're going to be exhaling, which feels like applying what we have learned over the last couple of weeks and making our last efforts to get things done or gotta do before we get ready for a new cycle. And that's pretty much the first episode of the Bitter Truth weekly forecast. Thanks so much for listening, and talk to you later.